This is a MS Conversations now. It's called MS Patients Voices. It's part of a series that we started, well, I guess back at the beginning of COVID when it was just me, Damien, and Tyler online. And for those that know them, that's great. And if you don't know them, well, you'll get to know them because we'll be online together again next month as well. All right, so for tonight, you all know me, Stuart Schlossman, right? I look back different back then, all right? I was a little younger, had more hair on my head. Oh my gosh, yeah. Let's go to the next one, Bill. All right, next we have, yes, this program is supported by MS Views and News. And our guest for tonight, we have Alice Johnson. And Alice is very interesting. She's an MS advocate. She's a podcaster and she's an author. She lives in British Columbia. So this is now an international event tonight. Isn't that nice?
Yay!
Right? Well, exactly. So Alice has, well, she's got her own journey. She's got her thing that we're going to be speaking about concerning her healing. She's going to be sharing her story, different things that are going to pop up. We're going to talk about her symptoms, the pain that she's had, her diagnosis. We're going to speak about her podcast, her storytelling, her book, and we're going to get started, okay? So first, Alice, can you just, first, let's tell everybody where you're living again. I just said British Columbia, but go ahead. Let me hear where you live.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alice. I live in the Vancouver area in beautiful British Columbia, and I love it here. We were just talking about how temperate and nice the weather is. I don't really experience like intense heat or intense cold, which I love because those can both aggravate my symptoms. Yeah, I do love it here. It's very beautiful.
That's thank you for that. So now that you mentioned symptoms, can you tell us more about your journey with your MS symptoms and what you didn't know when you first learned?
Yeah, so I'm very passionate about talking about the journey of finding out that you have multiple sclerosis. For every single person who is listening who has it, you know that it presents very different in every single person who has it. So it's just as unique as you are. And I am one of those individuals who began to experience symptoms pretty young. I would probably say that my first symptom was when I was about 16 years old, and it was an MS hug, though at the time I just had of weird pressure on my chest and I felt very uncomfortable and anxious, and obviously I didn't know what it was at the time, but looking back I can kind of see that as around the first time I started to experience something weird in my body that just didn't quite feel right. Then later I experienced migraines, and they were a weird onset of migraines. They were kind of related to stress. I went to some doctors and they were like, yeah, you're a student, you're stressed out all the time. Could be that. So I kind of didn't know what was going on for a while, and I would have symptoms just like pop up out of nowhere and be a little bit confusing. But the main thing that happened to me that changed my entire life, I was 23 years old, went to bed one night, felt normal as you can feel. And when I woke up the next morning, my leg had gone completely numb. It felt like the sensation had changed. Half my body, kind of up to my rib cage on one side, felt different and off. And that kind of is what started me searching through doctor's appointments and just a lot of personal research to try to figure out what was going on. And due to my age, a lot of doctors didn't really know how to deal with it. A lot of them said it was, in my head, or it was just stress, or, I'm sure a lot of people listening have a similar experience of having something very strange happen and not really getting that response that they expected. As a young person, having half your body go numb, I kind of thought like, that's, red alarms. Sounds pretty intense. It sounds very scary, but the reactions I got from the medical community were more kind of like, wait it out. And I was also starting a job, so I was kind of dealing with this strange sensation that was affecting my energy. It was affecting my sleep. It was kind of like going from being in no pain or feeling regular in your body to experiencing high levels of pain every day. And one of the things I really had to learn was how to be a self-advocate, because I would go to doctors, they would say, no, it's probably just nothing. And I would really want to believe them because I, didn't want anything weird to be happening. I wanted to be okay. So I had to really learn how to push for what I needed in the medical community. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, of having to learn how to advocate for yourself and trust yourself when you know that something isn't right, because you usually do
Okay.
know.
That's true. So first, before I hit on some of the things you just said, for those that are online, if you want to ask a question to Alice, we're going to take all the questions at the end, all right? But just go to the top of the scroll bar, and where you have that orange or red box, that's not a box, it's a rectangle, just click on that arrow and type in your question. So going back to when you were 16, it's funny because when you said that you were 16, I said, wow, it was probably that she thought that, she's a teenager and she's a little anxious about something. Who knows, a guy, a test, or something coming up, All right. And then when you said about 23, when you said that your body shut down, I clearly understand that because I was in, where was I? I was in Guatemala at the time when my body shut down, and I had to be literally airlifted out of there because there were no U.S. commercial flights that day.
Wow.
And they had to, they contacted the embassy because the doctors there had no idea what to do with me. So they contacted the U.S. embassy, and they found out that there was a military transport leaving, and they were going to get me on that transport to get me back to Miami. And the right side of my body was just totally shut down. And they knew I didn't have a stroke, and they knew I had, they did a lot of tests on me, but they didn't find anything of that out. So they wanted to get me back to Miami. They just wanted me out of their country, I think.
Yeah, wow, that's quite the experience. Were you on vacation at the time, or was it?
No, I was there. I was there working at the time, and I was in my mid-30s at the time. So,
yeah, again, young. When you're young and you experience something like that, it's very jarring because for me anyways, I would hear like when you get older, your body starts to change and you have to adapt. And folks who were older than me would be talking about like, oh, I have pain in my body and I don't know what it is. And oh, it's just getting older. And being 23 and being like, my body's shutting down too, but I am much younger and that doesn't seem like it should be happening. It seems like something is not quite right with this.
Right. So now we're talking about pain. Let's talk about your MS nerve pain and what you were saying, that the medical community just didn't believe, that this was caused by a trauma or what. So tell us what you wanted to share with everybody about this.
Yeah. So at first, I think it was challenging for the medical community because of my age. And I believe, and this is not, I don't have necessarily evidence, but I believe that they thought that I may be trying to get pain medication or, maybe exaggerating what was going on in order to make it sound worse. But it was challenging for me because I like genuine and honesty, and I try to be as open and honest as I can. So for a young person trying to communicate, hey, something is really wrong right now, and I was kind of begging and pleading and just really wanting someone to take what I was saying and understand it, or at least try to do some testing or something. But due to my age and how strange it was, because like I said, it was my whole right body had gone numb. The sensation was different. I couldn't tell the difference between hot and cold. So if I was in the shower and there was really hot water on my leg, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between cold water. And at first, it was just kind of a numbing sensation. If you've ever fallen asleep on your foot, it was kind of similar to that. And it was very hard to communicate for me what was going on. And I think it was hard for the medical community to understand what was going on. But what I wish had happened is that I had been sent for tests earlier, because what ended up happening was the little tingling sensations turned into nerve pain, which just took over my entire day. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I wouldn't be able to focus in the way that I wanted to. My life was kind of falling all around me because I was trying to learn how to live with this pain that I didn't understand. And it was very challenging. And also, like I said, I didn't want to be sick. I wanted to be a normal 23-year-old who was dealing with the things normal 23-year-olds dealt with. So on my end, there was that struggle of really pushing for tests or pushing for what I needed because I felt like it shouldn't be happening. So it was definitely a bumpy journey. And I actually had to tell some doctors, like, hey, can you just send me for a test? Like, one doctor at a walk-in clinic I went to kind of just looked at me and went, well, wait it out. And I said, can you just send me for anything? Like, send me for a test just to say it's not this. If we can just get some stuff taken out and I can understand what it is or what it isn't, then I can move forwards. And eventually it was those tests that I took to a different doctor and finally convinced them that, like, hey, it's not all of these things, so it must be something else. And I finally got an MRI, though the doctor was quite condescending about it. He told me I was wasting resources. In Canada, we have free healthcare, so he was a little bit like, I don't really want to send you because I don't want to waste the resources. But then it ended up being lesions in my brain. And I was also one of those unfortunate individuals who had a lot of lesions. So it affects me in a lot of places of my body. Luckily, my weakness hasn't quite set in yet. So I still have a lot of strength. It's more just that pain that I deal with on a daily basis that can be quite challenging to navigate.
Okay, thank you. So you went through all this physical and the pain and whatnot. What about the mental anguish? What were you able to discuss with your friends and your family about everything that was going on with you?
That was a challenge as well. Again, if you're young and you're experiencing high levels of pain and you're trying to talk to other young folks who have never really experienced pain or experienced their body kind of shutting down, it can be very challenging. And I think a lot of my family and friends didn't really know how to talk to me about it, just as much as I didn't know how to talk to them. And it was definitely, I think, a challenge for everyone. Nobody likes to see someone they care about in that much pain. And I think as folks who experience pain, this is just my experience, but I think some people can relate, you try to make it sound less than what it is, to try to protect those that you love. And I definitely fell into that a little bit, like, oh, how are you? And I just like, oh, I'm fine. But, I'm dealing with this mental fatigue and the pain. And I think there was a grieving process as well that I learned how to deal with, but didn't really have guidance towards until I joined some MS communities online on Twitter, which was a great community for me of other folks who had MS. Because when you're speaking to people who have MS, they just get it. You can say, like, I'm feeling pain, and their pain might be different, but they can understand what you mean and how debilitating it can be. So my friends and family were as supportive and loving as they could have been, but I definitely found more of a community online when I could say, hey, my MS is flaring, and there could be 5 people who would be like, I know what that feels like, at least how it feels like to me. So it was definitely a challenge for everybody. Like I said, you never want to see someone you love in pain.
That's right. You know what? I'm not sending you any more scripts in advance because you're way ahead of where I am. Ready? You didn't allow me to ask questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You were speaking about it anyway. All right. So let's try to sum this up a little bit. The way that you manage both your physical and emotional pain, can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, I learned a lot about self-love and how to try to change thought patterns. I definitely, like I said, went through a bit of a grieving process where I didn't really know how to deal with the idea that my body had changed so much in what felt like a short period of time, even though we know that MS symptoms can kind of build up over years. Like I said, it started at 16 probably and didn't really affect me to such a large degree till 23. But for the person experiencing it, it definitely feels like it happens very quickly. So I learned how to grieve for the body that I had and had to learn a lot about how to accept the life that I have now. And with the support of a loving fiance and family, I was able to find that. And I think I also found it in stories and books. Like I read a lot of philosophy stories and learned how to heal through laughter and love and positive thinking. I think aligning your mental health with your physical health can be very beneficial, I think.
Okay. All right. So tell us about work. How are you able to work with all this?
So I'm not able to work. I have been on disability for a while now due to the physical strain of my consistent nerve pain. It's been challenging to have a job. So I have been on disability for a while, which was also a hard thing. I'm a very outgoing person. I was very career driven. So having to take a step back from a career and kind of that life I saw myself living was a big challenge. But that's where I've turned more to creative projects and trying to, when I have the energy and I have that mental focus, I try to sit down and work on projects that I want to do. And I'm hoping that one day I'll be able to get my mind and body to a place where I can work again. But at the time, I'm currently on disability.
Okay. So prior to being diagnosed, what were your career plans? What were your goals?
I really liked working at university residences. There's opportunities to work in as a residence life manager. So you work in first or second year housing at the university and you kind of facilitate a positive environment for people who work there and for the students. So at the time that I first got my symptoms, I was trying to work towards a career at a university campus in residence life. However, that was a lot of work and a lot of challenges, so I wasn't able to do that. I also potentially wanted to work in publishing. I got a degree in English literature, so I would have loved to have worked at a publishing company, reading books and helping them figure out what books would get published.
Okay, great. Now that we're rolling along and we got to know who you are and everything that's happening, why don't you tell us about your podcast, Escaping Wonderland?
Yeah, thank you. So I was struggling a lot with trying to put my thoughts and feelings, kind of organize them after getting my diagnosis, going through some healing and processing of what was going on. And I really wanted a way to express my pain and what I was going through in my life, but in a positive way that illustrated how I was able to go from feeling a lot of pain to being a little bit better and my healing journey. And I've always studied English literature. I love Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. And it was through that story of Alice falling into Wonderland, being in a world that she didn't understand, and learning as she went and growing as a person through the journey of Wonderland, that I really related to that as someone who was living my life and then it just kind of felt like the ground opened up underneath me and I was falling. So I'm using my podcast as a way to tell my story of how I was diagnosed, how I felt about multiple sclerosis, and just kind of show how my journey through healing was similar to Alice's journey through Wonderland. And I want to try to help
It's
others.
amazing that your first name is Alice.
Yeah, it works out.
Works out perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, back here in the States, we have other ways to find the Wonderland.
Yeah, I mean, you can just go to Disney, which would be a lot of fun.
We could go to Disney, exactly. Could you tell us a bit about the inspiration that helped you launch your podcast?
Yeah, I really wanted a way to express support for other people. And I felt that a podcast where I was able to be honest about where I am and where I'm going in my journey might be helpful for other people. When I was first diagnosed, I didn't feel like I had a community of people that I could connect to. And I didn't really have someone who was telling me that, I get what you're going through and it might be hard right now. And I know it's really hard to see how it can be better in the future, because when you're in that pain and you're experiencing it, folks will say to you like, oh, it'll get better. And that might be true, but it's really hard to believe that when you're first diagnosed with something like multiple sclerosis. So I really want to put my voice out there and help inspire other people and help them through that journey of processing what was going on and knowing that there's somebody else out there who's going through similar things. And I'm not healed by any means. I am still, working through my multiple sclerosis on a daily basis, but I was hoping that with a podcast, I could connect to other people and together we could work through healing and growing and learning from each other. And a podcast is a great way to get your voice out there and have a big reach of people. So I felt like that was.
How often do you do your podcast?
Well, the first episode was just published in November. So I am working on getting my next episode out at the end of February. And then I'm hoping to make the time between episodes a little smaller. So at this point, I'm trying to release them once a month. But as someone with MS, sometimes my weeks don't go like I planned them, and I'm trying to take it one day at a time.
Okay. How do you use writing as an outlet to deal with your pain?
Yeah, when I was younger, I used writing as a way to express my emotions. I'm someone who I have a really hard time when I'm just talking or thinking to come up with like how I really feel. So writing has always been a way for me to connect with how I'm really feeling deep down and to express myself. I've been writing stories my whole life. So that creativity and ability to relate something real to something fictional has been a great outlet for me. And doing that one step further and making that writing into something that I speak has been great as well. I think sometimes saying something out loud can just help. And I don't know about anyone listening, but I like to hold stuff in. And so writing is a way for me to be open and express myself where I might hold stuff in.
Sure. There are people that listen to music, to use that as a way to vent from their pain. There are other people that do artwork. I mean, there are other people that do music therapy. So you're doing, you're writing, and that's great. So you found an outlet. So tell us now about the fantasy book where the main character is cursed and they had to deal with a lot of the pain that is similar to your own pain.
Yeah, so I've always used relating what's going on in real life to fiction. I feel like that's a really beautiful, strong way to express something and just change it just enough so that people can kind of be pulled out of everyday life and see it through a different lens. And in this book, I was having a lot of trouble writing, and I was having a lot of trouble finding exactly what story I wanted to write. And I thought, I don't really hear of a lot of fictional characters or fantasy stories where the main character is dealing with the kind of pain that I dealt with, and that can bring a lot of challenges to your everyday life. So I started this book as a way to really express what it's like to live with pain, but I wanted to do it in a fantasy setting. So the main character is cursed, and the pain that she experiences from the curse is very similar to the pain I experience with MS. And her journey is one where she believes that she can break the curse. If she just goes on this journey and finds this person who cursed her, she'll be able to undo it. But really, it's more of a process. She learns, through the story that what she really has to do is learn how to love herself and accept herself for who she is and for all of the things that have happened to her. And that through that self-love and acceptance, she'll be able to remedy the curse without having to confront the person who cursed her. I thought it would be a good idea to relate it to a curse because, there isn't really a rhyme or a reason for that to happen to someone. And that's very relatable to MS, where you get it and you're like, what is the reason for this? You kind of want to find an answer. And through this fantasy story, she's going to learn a lot about herself and how to accept what's going on and live with it, and how living with it and understanding it will help her grow into someone who will be able to break the curse on her own. So it's a way for me to relate what I believe from healing, which is that if you are positive thinking and you love yourself and you try to accept what's going on, you'll be able to be in a more positive place. you may not be healed or cured in the sense of being the person you were before you got sick, but I believe that you can feel better. And that's really the main point of it, is to feel better yourself.
Great. Do you have a name for this book yet?
Right now, it's tentatively called The Academy of Orion. It's about the fantasy schools involved, but I don't have a solid name yet. I'm about halfway through, so I will hopefully come up with a name soon.
Question, the pains that you feel, can you tell us where your pains are?
Yeah, for me, the pain mainly affects me in my right leg and sometimes on my right side. It's kind of like, I say, a current of electricity that feels like it kind of runs up and down my leg. The intensity of that feeling can be worse or better. When I was first experiencing pain, I would say to doctors that it was at like a 9 all the time because I just couldn't think of anything else. I would try to focus on reading. All I could think about was the pain. I would try to focus on doing my daily chores. All I could focus on the pain. And it was very debilitating for my everyday life. I could hardly even keep up a conversation with people because I just was constantly mentally being pulled back to this intense physical sensation. And I did feel like I lost myself a lot in that experience. However, over time, it's been about 6 years now, I've been able to learn how to focus on other things and not let that intense pain be my main focus. Medications have also helped. After I got diagnosed, I had access to medications. So yeah, it's mainly an electricity burning sensation that doesn't really ever go away, but can be milder or worse depending on what my body is doing that day.
Okay. I think your dog came alive. I think
Yeah.
your dog left.
He's walking towards the door. He's trying to ask for a walk, I think.
Sure, no problem. All right. So the going back a little bit to about your challenges, how has MS changed your life for the better or worse?
It's changed my life a lot. I would say that I wouldn't be the person I am today without multiple sclerosis. I have found a way to be grateful for it because I think it's led me down a path of life that is beautiful and unique. However, it is definitely still a grieving process of trying to accept it and understand it. It can definitely still be scary. You know, there's always that potential threat of another attack or for something to get worse. So I've been trying really hard to learn how to live in the moment more. So I'm feeling a little bit more grounded. I have a definitely interesting relationship with it because I don't reject it. I'm happy that I'm able to live with it, but still, you know, obviously you wish that it hadn't happened and that life had been different. But I do like who I am and what I've learned and who I've met since I've had MS.
So what do you want to do going forward? Do you want to do more podcasts? Do you want to do more book writing? Tell us what it is that you would like to see and how any of this will benefit the MS community. How will you get it out more to the MS community?
Well, one of my main goals is to bring awareness to MS, and I love connecting with other folks who have the disease and who understand it and who can connect with me about what it's like and how it affects them. However, I also want to try to educate other people on what that experience of having MS is like. So for someone who's never experienced an MS hug or may have heard what MS is or knew someone who had it but doesn't really quite understand it, my goal is to try to connect folks with MS to people who don't have it so that we can understand each other and maybe create a greater dialogue around it. I know for myself, when I was diagnosed, I really didn't know what it was, and it took a lot of research and understanding to try to figure out what it was. And then on the other side, my loved ones were trying to figure out what it was and how it affected me, and they had trouble finding people or sources that would give them answers. So my goal is that through my fiction book, which is about a curse, which is similar to MS, I'll be able to help educate folks who don't have it on what it actually feels like to have the disease and how it actually affects people on a daily basis, obviously through my lens, because I know it does affect everyone a little different, and try to really breach that gap between people who have it and people who don't. So if my podcast or my book can help someone with MS learn how to love and accept themselves and help show them how to go through that journey, I would love that. I would also love it if someone who doesn't have the disease could listen to my podcast or read my book and get a greater understanding of what it's like to have it and how it impacts your life.
Thank you. So do you get any of your things to write about from others with multiple sclerosis, or is it only based on what you're feeling?
Mainly I come up with it from what I'm feeling, although I do have a lot of people that I talk to about what they feel and how they think who have MS. And I definitely am inspired by those individuals and what they say and how they talk about their life. Pretty much anybody I've had or met who's had MS is just the sweetest person. A lot of people are very open to talking about it. And I've met a lot of folks who say, they wish other people had a greater understanding of it. So I definitely want to do it for myself so I can help just express myself better and understand myself better, but also for those other people in the community who just really want a piece of art that represents them and that they can hopefully relate to on a deep level, because I think that's important. Representation really matters. And yeah, if I could help people in that way, I would love that.
So tell us how people can hear your podcasts.
If you just Google search Escaping Wonderland podcast, it comes up on Apple Podcasts and a couple other podcasting sites. You can also find it on Spotify. So if you go to Spotify and you type in the top Escaping Wonderland and or Alice Mackey, which is the name I have on the podcast, you'll be able to find it there.
Well, that's fabulous. Thank you for that. So I'm out of questions, and I wanted to thank you for being here. Is there anything else you would like to add to everything? Did I miss out on anything? Did I forget something? I don't think so. I think that you answered basically all of it. So.
Yeah, sorry, I do talk a lot and fast, so I'm sorry for speeding through some of your questions. I guess I just want to say thank you, because websites like this are just so helpful and beautiful, and getting a dialogue started between two people who experience MS that can be broadcasted to other people is just amazing. So I really appreciate you asking me to come on here and letting me share my story and talk about it. And I hope that I can connect to more people and that you continue to do well and heal from COVID and all of that.
Thank you for that. I definitely do hope so. I get my voice back on a regular basis, I'll be doing very, very well. So, you could learn a tremendous, from what you're saying, that you go to places to learn more about MS. You can, by the way, we have people asking questions, so I'm going to get back to that as well. But the amount of programs that we're doing, that we do with this MS Patients Voices series, if you get an opportunity, you want to go to our YouTube channel and click on that playlist, you'll hear what other patients are saying about it and, how it's affecting their lives and what they're planning about, doing, what they're doing going forward as well. In fact, one of our previous guests, she's a support group leader here in South Florida, and she's very boisterous to people that she likes to be boisterous to, but she wrote, "Alice is lovely and a true inspiration for MS patients." What a trooper. You're a great talker, Alice.
Oh, I really appreciate that. You're going to make me blush.
And now she's writing, haha, because she didn't think I was going to say it like that. But yes, she just wrote again that she loves you. She loves the way that you're talking and the way that you expressed yourself. And thank you, Maria, for saying all this, all right? Yes. And yeah, so you two need to connect probably, but maybe Maria will allow me to give out her information. Oh, she already wrote, yes, we do. You'll definitely connect with her then. All
Well, I
right.
would love
Well,
that. Thank you.
we'll definitely get you two together, and you two could start rapping with each other on the phone, and you'll find that a week went by.
Yeah, I imagine we would. That's awesome. Thank you. So sweet.
Okay, great. I will email to you her information so that way you can connect with her. Okay. And Marie, is it okay for me to give her your phone number or just your email? Okay, I'm waiting for a response. Come on, fun, yes. Come on, email or just phone or what? Everything. All right. She wants me to send everything to you. Okay.
Oh, well, I can't wait. That sounds awesome. Like I said, I
All
love
right.
connecting with other people, so I really appreciate that.
Yes, and yes, and another person's writing. Thank you. Thank me and you for another amazing webinar, and that's fantastic. Okay, so my thanks to everybody that came online tonight, and my thanks, of course, to Alice for being here, and to her fiance for helping her get everything set up, and her dog for being nice and quiet. Okay, so I'm going to say goodnight to everybody, and we'll chat again with you soon. Okay?
Yes,
Thank
thank you
you.
again for having me, and thank you everyone for listening.
Perfect. Good night.
Yay, good night.